Morning. Welcome. I'm Bill Peterson, Senior Associate Athletic Director for Athletic Communications. We're going to open with some statements from Athletic Director Don Cook, Head Coach Dave Bike, and Anthony Latina, and after that we'll take any questions that you might have. At this time, I'd like to introduce Executive Director of Athletics, Don Cook.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill. I had some notes, but I decided that I will handle these the way Dave handles practice. He never kept notes. What I do want to say, I think this is a significant day in the history of Sacred Heart University, obviously specifically to the athletics program and the men's basketball program. I mean, this man has been, I think, the standard by which we all get measured in terms of what is best in terms of intercollegiate athletics. Having been at the same institution for 35 plus years, that in itself is a significant moment in the history of the institution. Only Jim Boeheim of Syracuse University has been at the same place for similar longevity as Dave Bike. You know, we have information here about the statistical accomplishments of Dave. We could spend half the day citing all of those. Just a couple that I'd like to bring to your attention, of course, is that he had won over 530 games. He has been in a number of Hall of Fames. He won a national championship in 1986, and those are just a couple of highlights. But that's not the real measure, in my mind, of the coach, the man. I've been in this business for a lot longer than I care to admit, but I think in looking around the room, I've been in it longer than half the people in this room have been on the face of the earth. But I have met very few people that match up from an integrity perspective and as a human being, and from my personal bias, a personal dear friend of mine over many, many years. He's a legend in his own right. And it's very interesting that in this room today we have another legend for Connecticut basketball, Howie Dickerman from Central Connecticut State University. And thank you, Howie, for thinking enough to be here to share this moment with Dave and frankly with me. We go back a long, long, long way. But I think more than anything else that we appreciate is the fact that Dave just had a way of making an impact and influencing the lives of the young men that had the privilege of playing for him. He'll look at it as a privilege for himself for having had the opportunity to coach them. And that's just the kind of person he is. But I think more important than anything else is that this is a man who certainly understands the place of basketball in his world. And he has the perspective, the insight, the balance, and the will to do the things the right way. I never had to be worried in all the time that we worked together as to whether or not he was playing games with the NCAA rules. He knew the NCAA rules better than me. And he always made certain that his players and his staff and he were well informed on all the things. There was never a chance that there'd be anything shady going on his watch. And I think that more than anything else, aside from what he's done statistically, it speaks to the man, speaks to who he is, a great family man. You know, and maybe Dave, you might want to go on a second honeymoon with Judy after this press conference. But quoting out of the recruiting book of the NCAA, I think you're in the midst of a quiet or dead period. I understand that. But more than anything else, that's only the people who understand the book, which I know a little bit about. I've been trying to understand that book for almost 48 years, and I finally got to the point that it wasn't worth the effort. You really need to have to work at the book, not read it, because it's that confusing. But in today's environment, of all the craziness that's going on the NCAA level, the murky waters of what goes on at other institutions, today is a special day, and it's nice to be able to do a dual press conference, and I'll get to that in another minute. But first and foremost, I'd like to introduce a dear friend, a colleague, and one of the finest men that I've ever been associated with in intercollegiate athletics, Dave Bike.
Thanks for being here. I'm not sure who's more nervous, me or Latina. 15 minutes, your grandma and grandpa and the rest of the family sit in the front. Today I want to say thank you. Thank you, Don, for the kind remarks. And thank you, Jim, for hiring Don 20 years ago. How fortunate I've been to have him as my boss. I'd like to thank Sacred Heart University for giving me the opportunity to earn a living working at a job I love and a place I love. I also want to thank all those people, my friends, our fans, fellow staff members, the faculty, the administration, team managers, and my assistant coaches who have supported me through not only the good times, but through the not so good times as well. I'd like to thank the press who treated me fairly when we won and who treated me fairly when we lost. Special thanks goes to my immediate family. I've been blessed in a number of areas, but the one I'm most thankful for is my family. I was never the best coach, the best father, the best husband, but somehow I did have the best parents, best sister, best children, best grandchildren, and best of all, a wife who was always there for our family and me. Matter of fact, I've been so blessed, even the in-laws are okay. My daughter Kelly read Bill Paxton's article last week. She sent me an email saying how proud she was of me. I wrote back on our family email list, that is, the other way around. You all make me proud. Amy wrote back saying, I have a dad with the best job ever. So many fun memories that we all cherish the rest of our lives. Amy and Kelly are here today. Last but not least, special thanks goes out to the student athletes that I've been fortunate to be associated with. Know that I tried my best to keep things in the proper perspective, that you pursued your academic and athletic careers at Sacred Heart. In closing, I'd like to say that I tried to practice it. And I even broke down when I was in my house by myself. My dear wife is taking care of business in Florida. She's on vacation. In closing, I like to say there were two men who have been with me my entire career at Sacred Heart. One was there for constant support and constant advice, whether I asked for it or not. That was my father. The other has been Alvin Clinks. Mr. C has always been there for support, understanding, and advice upon request. Anthony, I hope to take on the role of Mr. C for you. Know that I am here to support you and wish you the very best. Go Pioneers.
Lead-in from Bill. That was very touching, very appropriate, and it's typical Dave Ike. This, in a way, is a very emotional day for me as well, because this will be my final act as a college athletic director, and having the opportunity and the pleasure of introducing to you, obviously someone that everyone in this room knows, who will be replacing Dave as head basketball coach, the third basketball coach in the history of the university, and it's Anthony Latina. As you all know, Anthony and Dave have been together for 8 years. And while Anthony was still a student of the game, when he played at Brandeis and had the opportunity to coach under Howard Dickerman for a time at Central Connecticut State, and of course, as I mentioned, the past 8 years here at Sacred Heart University. He brings a special energy, I think, and passion for basketball, and he's always been respectful of the game, respectful of the people that participated both with him and those that he put in the opponent category. He understands the game. He has a great facility for coaching. He's a high energy guy, and I think he's just the type of person with the kind of personality that we welcome, because I think he's going to fuse a new level of excitement into our program. And the best part about this is that I didn't have to conduct one more search to find the right guy. He arrived here, as I said, a few years back. He and Dave have been working shoulder to shoulder for a number of years. So I see that this is a transition that's going to be seamless. It's a transition where there are two men working together who share the same core values, the same philosophies of coaching. And the only difference is that I don't know who is more difficult at times to understand. Whether that be Anthony, because he talked so damn fast every time, and Dave himself. You know, I minored in philosophy in college, and I read Socrates, and I still don't understand what the hell this guy is saying. But more importantly is that I have an enormous amount of respect for this team. I call it a team because that's what it's been. And the good news is, in many respects, is that Dave is going to remain here. As I am. I'm going to try to make sure that I'm not intruding in any way. But the most important moment of this instance is the introduction of a great young coach, a man that I know that's going to bring Sacred Heart University men's basketball to a new level. It's my pleasure to introduce Anthony Latina.
I talk loud enough. I don't think I need a microphone. Well,
Wait, is that a motion? Anybody want to second it?
Well, Coach, not back to follow after that, but first I'd like to just acknowledge some people before I speak. First, of course, our president, Dr. Patillo. He's only been here a few short years, but under his vision and leadership, I think everybody associated with this university is very excited about the direction of this institution. Also like to acknowledge Jim Barcanero, whose commitment and love for this university, with the exception of Coach Bite, I don't know if there's anybody that loves this place more than Jim does. And in the 20 plus years, I don't know exactly how many years he's been here, I really believe no one is more responsible for the transformation of this university to what it is today more than Jim. He lives the job, he loves the job, and we're very, very lucky to have him. And I'm very lucky to have you as someone I can lean on going forward. To Larry Wilk and Denise Tiberio, you're sitting in the back there. I called Larry about 2 minutes ago. I said, Larry, I'm including you in the speech. You're not even here. Oh, there he is. He's there. I thought he'd been. Your support for the program is very much appreciated. And more importantly, those of you that don't know Larry Wilk, who is our Dean of Students, and Denise, who is our Assistant Dean of Students, I think that they set the tone for this university in terms of serving our students. Their commitment to our students is what we're all about, and they are a great example for all of us to follow. And I really appreciate everything they do for us, and Larry has informed me that he's going to help us with some coaching going forward as well, so we appreciate that. To Jamie Romeo, who's been a good friend since the day I walked in here. He has been with admissions. I believe he is as responsible for what we've done in admissions in recent years as anybody. I think he's a big part of why this year we've had the largest class in the history of this university. And his energy and his enthusiasm is infectious. And those of you that don't know, and I don't even know if I can say this, but he's going to be in athletics next year, and we're very lucky to have him. It's admissions loss and our gain. To Don Cook. Don is a first-class individual. great boss. He has treated myself and my family with a great deal of respect. And I've been very honored to work for him the last 8 years. I'm disappointed that I can't work with him in this new role directly, but he is someone who I will always pick up the phone and call and ask for advice, because his wisdom and his knowledge and his perspective on a very difficult business is something that I think will serve me very well going forward. To Bobby Valentine, even my son wants to know when he can meet Bobby Valentine. I get a lot of questions about him. The way I look at Bobby Valentine, when you have someone who's achieved at the highest level of his profession like he has, that is an unbelievable opportunity and resource for a young coach like myself. Because anything that I'm going to come across, he's probably seen. So I'm very excited to speak with him in detail about his vision. I'm excited to share my vision of what I hope the program will be, and I think it has an opportunity to be a very great partnership. Also to the other VPs, faculty and staff in the room, this is a really exciting time for this university. Like I said, we've had our largest class in the history of the university. What we're doing as a Catholic university is unprecedented. And it's because of the leadership of the people I just mentioned and many others that this is happening. I also want to acknowledge a couple coaches that are here. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Sacred Heart coaches that are here. One of the things that make this place so special is that almost every coach in the department is here. There's a million of us. And, you know, when I first came here, and I called my wife and said, hey, I'm stick around going to the soccer game, or I'm stick around going to the football game, or whatever the case may be, she didn't quite understand, what do you mean you're going to all these games? And that is the culture that we have here that I really appreciate. And Coach Bike was a great example for me as someone who really paid attention to everyone around him. And I think that's what makes this place special, is that the football coach is here. Mark Milford, he doesn't need to be here. The soccer coach, the lacrosse coach, the hockey coach. Great people that are supporting each other. And I think there's a genuine like for one another and a genuine appreciation for one another. And that is not the case at many, many different places. And I feel very lucky to have that. To Kevin Pappas and John Kidd, assistant coaches, I learned a long time ago from Coach D. You reminded me often you're only as good as your staff, and I'm very lucky I have a great staff. They have quality people, high character people, and I'm very excited to work with them, and I think they're going to be a big reason we are successful going forward. To a couple coaches who took their time to come here, Steve Peichel, head coach at Stony Brook University. Steve was one of the main reasons I got the job at Central Connecticut. His support, his energy, his enthusiasm. I could not have asked for a better role model. Just watching him work every day was an unbelievable education for me. I think he's one of the best young coaches in the country. And if you don't know his name now, I promise you, in the next few years, everybody in this room will know who Steve Peichel is. To Joe Riley and his brother Luke Campier, he's a teacher. He's very dedicated to students. Great coaches, great people. I call them great friends, but I don't consider Joe and Luke friends. You know, I've never had brothers, but if I did, I wanted to be like Joe and Luke. They make me a better person, and I'm very lucky to have them in my life. I would be remiss if I didn't mention their father, Coach Riley. Joe Riley was, has since passed away. He was my high school coach at South Catholic. I think other than my mother and father, probably nobody impacted my life more than Coach Riley. He is, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the history of the state of Connecticut. But that's not what made him great. He gave me great perspective at a very young age that this is a lot more than just winning or losing. And I represent him and South Catholic High School and the South of Hartford with great pride. To Coach Dickerman, my first mentor, gave me my first break in Division I. Coach D is as respected as there is anyone in business. When he hired me heck, it's been 14, 15 years ago, he gave me instant credibility in the business. Probably credibility that I did not deserve. And it was because of his respect. I'll share a quick story about Coach D. About a year ago, around this time, I got a call from an organization called the Interval House, and he might not want me to share this because he's not into things like this. And they said, Coach D wanted you to speak at a breakfast for honoring him. And I said, absolutely, because Coach D doesn't ask much of his friends, and when he does, we step up. So I called Steve, and I called a couple other friends. I said, Steve, you going? He said, yeah, I'm speaking too. I said, great. So we show up in Simsbury, I think it's Simsbury Inn or some hotel, restaurant, banquet hall. And I get there, and Steve and I actually kind of follow each other there. And I'm there, and Steve's speaking, and before you know it, D-Rowe, legendary coach, is speaking, and Lou Perkins, athletic director, former athletic director of UConn, speaking, Jeff Hathaway speaking, Jim Calhoun speaking, Gino Arianda speaking. And 400 other people were there to honor Coach D, and that says a lot about him because his loyalty to his friends is unmatched. Never met anyone like that. And that to me was a testament to what type of person he is. That 400 people, and people like Jim Calhoun and Gino Arianda and Lou Perkins show up at 8 o'clock on, I think, a Thursday to honor him. And that speaks volume. I can never repay him for all the opportunities he gave me, and I thank you for everything you've done for me. You taught me a lot about the business, but you taught me a lot more about life. To Coach Bike, you know, Don said it perfectly. He's a lot more than about wins and losses and 500 wins and national championships. And that just scratches the surface of the type of person he is. He, in a very tough business, in a business that can be very cutthroat, he gave me great perspective on life. He gave me a balance that I probably sorely needed. Him, Kelly, and Amy are here, and his wife Judy have treated my wife and kids like family. It has been an honor to coach with him. It's been a privilege. I could not have asked for a more caring person. If I have helped him half as much as he's helped me in the last 8 years, and I've done a very good job. So I'm not replacing him because, in my opinion, he's irreplaceable. This will always be his program. This will always be his family's program. They will always be a big part of what we do. They will always be welcome in everything we do, especially Vegas next year. And I am very lucky to have him. I didn't mention our athletic training staff as part of our coaches. Their dedication to this university is unmatched. I promised Bill Paxton I wouldn't be that long, so I am much more than halfway done with this speech. But I'm very humbled to be here before you. I'm honored, appreciative. Sacred Heart is a very special place for all the reasons that we've discussed. But I think what separates Sacred Heart is the dedication and commitment of the people that work here, that whose sole purpose is to serve the needs of our students. I think we do that better than anybody. Everything we do, from President Patillo on down, is to serve our students. It is my plan, it is our plan as a program to honor that mission and to be an extension of that mission. Every decision we make going forward as a basketball program will be with the best interest of our student athletes, period. No, nothing is negotiable in that regard. It will always be about them first. I've learned that from Coach. I will sacrifice wins and losses at the expense of doing what is right for our student athletes. We will do everything we can to develop them as students, as athletes, but most importantly as people. We will also represent this great university in the manner which it deserves. I don't want to talk too much about how we're going to play, because every coach who has a press conference says we're going to do this, this, and that, and they never do anything they say they're going to do. But I'm not the person to make guarantees, but I will guarantee you this. We will play unselfishly. We will play with energy. We will play with enthusiasm. And our number one goal will always be to make everyone associated with this institution and our program proud of that association. That is it. Everything else, in my opinion, will take care of itself. It's a challenge. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worthwhile, I think, ever is. Lastly, I just want to thank my family who's here, my mom and dad, my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew, my other sister who can't be here. I have been very blessed. I don't know if I have the best family in the world, but in my mind I do. Their support and their unconditional love has been unwavering from the day I can remember. They believed in me often much more than I believed in myself. At a very young age, I think my parents, they weren't people of many words. They came over, they didn't speak great English. They showed me the importance of hard work and sacrifice. And the one thing that always stuck with me that I hope that my wife and I give to our children, and my sister and I have shared this, is it's always been about something bigger than ourselves. And they showed that to me in the way they live their life. And it's my hope that our program and our players in our program understand that it is about something bigger than ourselves. And I hope I can share what I learned from my parents. I can never repay them for what they've done for me. I just hope that I can make them proud of how I represent them going forward. To my children, to my son, and my daughter, Zoe and Luke, Mom and Daddy are very proud of you. We're very excited that you can share this journey with us. They have great energy and great enthusiasm. We're proud of who they are and who they'll become. And Coach and Judy have showed us a model where this can be a great life for a family. And that's not the case everywhere. Lastly, to my wife, my beautiful wife, I know that being a coach is can be very difficult, I think. No, I actually didn't get choked when I was doing this. I know for sure that wasn't going to happen to you. I respect and admire and appreciate everything she does for me and our children. Nobody sacrifices more than her. I could not do this without her. She once wrote in a card to me recently, and it kind of stuck with me because I hope it applies to me too. I know I don't make your life always easier, but I hope I always make it better. And I'm very excited to go through this journey with you, because you definitely make my life better. I want to thank everyone for this overwhelming support. I think this is going to be a very exciting time for me, but most importantly for this university. I'm very proud to take over a program that has been run with class and dignity, and I'm very, very proud to be your coach. Thank you very much.
At this time, we'll take any questions from any members of the media.
Dave, obviously we've asked you about this for a couple of years now. You've always kind of shrugged the question off. When did you finally start thinking this was going to be the time?
I guess in September or so this past year, but I think in any profession that you like and enjoy so much, I think it's hard to know when is the right time. So I think this is the right time to step aside. I don't know if it can ever be 100% sure, because, like I said, it's been so fulfilling and enjoyable that I don't know if it's because we play, our profession is we play, if that makes it hard. But I'm sure, other professions, people who enjoy it so much have a hard time stepping aside. So, like I said, I don't know, I don't know, should have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know, but, I'm comfortable with the decision. Very serious thought. The only thing I regret is that we finished the season the way we did. Would have liked it this year, done better, you know. But again, it was something that prior to the season, I kind of came to that conclusion.
Did you waver at all during the season when you guys went on a win streak or losing streak? Maybe you should stay, or
No. I thought, like I said, such a strong thinking. You know what I mean? That I thought this was the right time. I thought I was ready to. We'll find out. We'll find out. I do appreciate the opportunity to still be around the university and to, again, was able to. I'm not rich by any means, but I made a living doing something that I like, and I think they found a position for me that I'll also enjoy, and I appreciate it.
did you know he was going to be his last year, or at what point did you find it out?
The relationship that Coach and I had was very honest. That's one of the things I always really enjoyed about it. So he did come to me in September and said, I think this is it. You know, I don't want to promise you, but I think this is it. And you know, from the moment that we kind of had this arrangement in place, I said, Coach, you do what you want to do. This place has been good to me. He has been great to me. I feel very appreciated. And I said, Coach, that was the one thing that was very important to me throughout this was, hey, when it happens, it happens. I feel very blessed to be in this situation. So I did have an idea. We talked about it early in September. But we really didn't talk about it much until right about the end of the year. But I was prepared to do whatever you wanted. Like I said, when you have someone who treated you the way you want to be treated, you can't ask for much more than that.
Dave, what would be the highlight of the Division I segment of your coaching career?
Well, you know, I know what the lowlights were. And like I said, I'm disappointed we didn't do better. But the back-to-back championship games when that phantom foul was called at Central Connecticut. They stuck by us with that big play. You know, those two championship games were fun. But the jump from 2 to 1, there's no doubt that we did things differently. Even from the early stages of the Division I, when we played Boston College to a tough game. The newspaper in Boston wrote how we drove off in our vans in the snowstorm after the game. You know, that soon changed, and we started to travel a little bit differently and run things differently. So it was when Division I came, it was a good time in my career too. I think that became a little bit a different situation, and it was a good ride.
Anthony, you spent 8 years next to this guy. What are you going to take away, life lesson-wise, both on the court and off the court from today?
You know, in working with two real legends, in Coach D and Coach Bud, I think the thing that I learned the most is you have to be true to yourself and your personality. I mean, you can't have two different coaches, more different coach styles than Coach D and Coach Bud. But I think what made them successful is they didn't try to be something they weren't. If I try to be Coach D, I'm going to fail. If I try to be Coach Bite, I'm going to fail. So I think the thing I learned most is you have to be who you are and do the best you can with who you are. Because I think players see me when you try to be something you're not. Who am I? I think I know I am. I think I'm a high-end coach. I think I'm very enthusiastic. And I hope that they know that every decision that we make as a program will be looking out for their best interests, and I hope that separates us from a lot of different people. Because one of the luxuries we have here at Sacred Heart is there is appreciation for that. In terms of, and don't mistake this, winning is a big part of this equation, and we will win. But there is some perspective on how we do it, and we have the luxury of making decisions that can sacrifice wins at times, but I think in the grand scheme of things will make us a stronger program. So that's what I'll take from Coach Bike is be true to yourself. You never tried to be someone who wasn't. Especially when they made that Division I and everyone's doing this and that. And this is how I do things. And not that he wasn't open to learning and change, but being very, very true to himself. And I hope I can do that as well as he did.
Did it make it easier to retire knowing you're turning the program over to Anthony, someone you've worked with for years and have worked well with?
I don't know if that's I'll say what Bobby said. What the hell kind of question? I know there's a correlation. You know, I mean, like this thing of retirement. I don't know. Like, I go back to the first question. It's not easy to stop doing something. Now, do I feel good about what's ahead for the program? You know what I mean? And you know, we just finished these evaluations. My last evaluation on Anthony's self-appraisal and self-evaluation, and there's in this detailed self-appraisal compared to the one that I gave to Don about myself and stuff, there's no doubt that he wants to cover all the bases, and I think he has the know-how and the enthusiasm, all right, to do that. So I feel good about the program. You know what I mean? I do feel, and there's also no doubt that both John and Anthony for the last few years have had responsibility for the head coach. You know what I mean? I'm very comfortable in allowing both of them to do their job. All right, because I think that's what I think it's better to let people when they're capable stay out of their way. You know, and I try to do that with players and with the staff.
Anthony, obviously you've been patient and you said you wanted Coach Pike to do things on his time, but now that you have your team, what's your general thoughts on that? It's been a long time coming. It's been something you know would be yours eventually, but now that it's here, just your thoughts on that.
Well, obviously very excited. It's a humbling thing. Extremely appreciative. I have a lot of ideas, but this is going to be a team effort. I do believe our staff is going to have a lot of say in what we do going forward. So I'm excited to lead a team. It will be a team. It's, you know, one other thing I learned from Coach, it's going to be a lot less about me, it's going to be a lot more about people I surround myself with, including student athletes. They have a little bit of say in how good we're going to be, I think, you know, and but I'm very comfortable with where we are as a program. I'm very comfortable with the support. I think things have been steadily getting put in place that are going to give us a chance to compete at a higher level, at a more consistent level. I think the addition of Bobby Valentine is an exciting thing for me. I'm very excited to sit down with him and get his vision and give him my vision. And like I said, I think things have been being put in place. So I am very comfortable taking over right now. Not to say that there's not some nervous energy, of course there is. I mean, I think that's natural, and anytime you're going to do something that's a little different. But I've been prepared by two of the best coaches in the history of the state of Connecticut. So I couldn't have asked for better mentors or people I learned from. My high school coach was the best coach in the history of the state of Connecticut. So for whatever reason, I've just been very lucky to be around coaches that knew what they were doing, and hopefully I've learned a couple things from them.
Anthony, you just mentioned who you surround yourself with. Have you hired an assistant yet? Are you still looking? When's that going to come
We
about?
do have one opening today. I will sit down, matter of fact, right after this, sit down with Bobby and Jim and let them know who I have in mind. I definitely have some people in mind. I want them to meet them because this is a team effort. I want them to feel good about it. I think they will. I have not made a decision on the last spot, but it will be someone who has a lot of energy, who has a lot of enthusiasm, who will be committed to this place, who will understand the mission of this place. So I don't want to give names because that's not fair to the people that are involved. But I feel very comfortable with the list. I feel very comfortable with the people we have in place, the people I trust. And I think The program, from a staffing standpoint, will be in very good hands as far as assistant coaches.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you all for coming today. And once again, congratulations to Coach Pike and to Coach Latina.